Alright then guys, so in this video I'm going to be retrobrighting a Japanese Super Famicom console. This is one that's actually got a bit of a story. I picked it up in Japan from Akihabara. It cost me 400 yen, I remember that. It was, in UK money, that's about £3, so quite cheap. Obviously I got my hopes up, I took it home, powered it on, and it did actually display a picture, but it was quite fuzzy. I think the picture or PIC chip, it might be, I probably got that wrong, had a fault and it wasn't displaying colours properly and it was a bit fuzzy, so wasn't working. But the shell, although severely yellowed, wasn't broke. So I put two and two together. I've got a PAL UK Super Nintendo, had to get that right, sorry, that was essentially broken. It was in pieces. It had a terrible life. It was donated to me by a friend. His name's Dave. Shout out to Dave if you're watching the video. You gave me this Super Nintendo and it was working, but unfortunately the shell has been completely destroyed. So on this video we're going to retrobright the Japanese Super Famicom console, and then we're going to put the guts from the PAL console, essentially just the motherboard, into the Super Famicom shell, and we're going to have a PAL Super Famicom console that's going to give many years of joy and hopefully make it look a bit better than it currently does. So let's move on to the video. Let me know your thoughts. Obviously this is how I retrobright. If anyone's got any tips, feel free to put them in the comment section. It's all about community. Let's all share ideas and let's keep these consoles alive. Cheers. Okay, so let's strip down this Super Famicom. This is the one from Japan, as you can see the Japanese writing. The PAL version is just next to it here. Really stinking dirty. Somehow it works though. Let's to do this, so you'll need a game bit, which is one of these here. There's 6 game screws, so be careful not to break them. The plastics on these can be really fragile, so best advice is go super slow until you feel the screw crack off. Ooh, this one there we go, it went. Made a really awkward sound there, and sometimes if you can feel like the sound of plastic cracking, it's never a good sign, but that one luckily gave way. Last one. It should lift off from the top, like so. There's no wires attached with a SNES or Super Famicom. So that's it there. What we're going to do is take apart all the plastics and essentially retrobright it ready for its new motherboard, which is the PAL version. So let's get started. First thing I always do, take off this tab. This should then lift out. As this is out as well, we could then also look to take the plastic off, but you've got to be super careful. Just push down, rotate about 45 degrees. Let's do it again. Yeah, these ones are a bit tighter. It's probably got some sticky stuff on it or something. There goes that one. There goes that one. Hey, there we go. So this is what we're going to be retrobrighting. So take a look at that. Nasty and yellow. Believe it or not, it is clean. I did clean them. But yeah, the sun and UV have really got to the fire retardants that I think is inside the ABS plastic, causes it to go yellow. I think I read that up once upon a time, that that's what's happening. So next thing, we just need a standard Phillips screwdriver. You've got a few screws here, so you've got gold screws here, here, here. You've got the switch as well, which we can then disconnect to, so that just pulls out. And you've got some silver screws. Just remember where they go. The silver screws are slightly longer. You've got 1, 2, and then you've got 3 and 4 here. Before I lift everything up as well, this is the connection between where it lifts up the cartridge. Just lift up one side, pull the metal out, pull it all the way out if you wish. You've got this spring here, keep it all safe. We'll put that back together, it's dead simple.
This should now all lift out. Yeah, okay, that's interesting. So the PAL version doesn't have this, hence why I wasn't looking for it. It is there though, the screw. But yeah, that would explain a few things. Why it wasn't coming out. There's still a screw in there. So yeah, be careful. Japanese versions have got that encoder. Hey, that's how it should be. Watch out as well for these little metal receivers. There's only one there. I'm sure we'll find the other. Although I do have a spare, as you can see. So, plastics we need are now out. We've got the base. We have the controller ports. There's that little metal bit. Put that to one side. Now we move on to taking these plastics apart too. Now you could potentially just chuck everything under hydrogen peroxide and it would probably do an okay job at Retrobright and everything, but I like to take apart everything and get it all the way back to plastic. So there's a few little metal bits. When you are Retrobrighting, you don't want to put anything metallic in the hydrogen peroxide. It could start corrosion or react with the metal that's in there. So I always keep these together, this little plastic bush, just so I know it came off that screw. This now lifts up. We don't need to retrobrite that, that's just for the cartridge. And then we've got these little clips here which hold the grey part on top. So to do those, very slightly, just with your thumb, you can feel them go. Again, these have never come off on some Nintendos for a long time. As I said, I have had this one apart very long ago, and there it goes, all falls down. You got the reset button, which is here as well. Two clips on the side, push them together slightly, and it just falls out. How easy is that? Also, talking about metallic parts, you got the spring here. Pull it to one side. Use that when we put it all back together. Now we have pretty much everything ready for retrobrighting. So let's move on to that. Okay then guys, so in this solution here we've got about 3% hydrogen peroxide. The rest is distilled water. You can use, I think, normal water at the tap, but I do actually have an RO unit to do my own distilled water, so I use that anyway, just thinking it might be better. So here is our Super Famicom as it was. What we're going to do, wear gloves as well for this. You don't want hydrogen peroxide on your fingers. I've made that mistake. Okay, looks like we might need to top up the fluid ever so slightly. It's just submerged, so yeah, we'll probably put a bit more in because we don't want it to be exposed. What I tend to do is use a weight because it will produce bubbles. So one of my wife's coasters of a golden retriever. What I tend to do as well when I do this is I'll leave the grey bit just slightly above, just raised. It'll still retrobright and it'll still get in underneath as well, enough that everything that's yellow will turn white, as you'll see in the finale. I put all the small pieces into a bag. I then submerge them, and the reason I do this is because they tend to float and I'm worried they don't get enough coverage. Might be the right idea, might be the wrong idea. It's always turned out well. So get all the air out as we put this in. Okay. So So they're face up, the console's in. I'm going to top up the water. I'll probably put some more hydrogen peroxide in actually, because this is an old solution and it does evaporate over time. So let's top it up slightly. See, 12%, about 1/4 is hydrogen peroxide, roughly. You can go up to 50%. You could probably use the whole of 12, but it tends to tail off in performance. It's not going to be 4 times faster if it's 4 times more concentrated. In the bag, doesn't matter if it still floats to the surface, as long as everything stays in the solution. I'm confident that's going to come out well. So put the lid on. Put your lights on. I use these UV lights from Amazon. This is a 30-watt UV light. This is another one. I also managed to find some coral lights from when I had a reef fish tank. About 10 years ago, probably more. These are aqua ray lights. You probably can't buy them anymore, but again, they are UV. They have got a similar spectrum to the UV that you want to use, so they work really well. It's ready to go. I'll leave that now. This is quite a yellow console, so it'll probably be at least a day, maybe 2, to get it back to its former glory. So we'll come back and we'll see it soon. Peace. Alright then guys, I'm back home. It's been pretty much 24 hours, so I'm in the garage. Let's turn off the lights and see how things are looking. Managed to find these rubber gloves. Okay, got a pot ready. Something just to store it in. So yeah, what a difference. Now you might have noticed that was in the bag before, but it was still looking a bit yellow, and to be fair, that's not... I think I could do better on that one. Might leave that in a bit longer. I thought it might have been the bag, but I don't think it was. It's just quite yellow. Still got a bit to go. If you look at the inside plastic, that's pretty much what it looked like when it was new, and that's where we're at. So we're close, but not close enough for me to be happy with it anyway. So let's get back to it. What I'm going to do next, whilst we're still going to wait for this to retrobright even further, we'll do a video interim and clean up the other PAL SNES we've got, which is the donor product. So yeah, we'll get back to it. Alright then guys, so it's the next day. The Japanese Famicom shell is still sunbathing under some UV lights and retrobrighting. Not quite ready yet. I did say it'd take up to probably about 2 days given the condition of it. Whilst we're waiting for that, let's clean up this manky old UK PAL Super Nintendo. So look at all that grime. Yeah, absolutely nasty. Let's quickly strip it down and go. So the pins lift up. I don't think it matters on orientation, but I always keep it the same. We'll give that a good clean. We'll give these a good clean. We'll go over it with some isopropyl alcohol as well. We can take the bottom shield off too, just to make access a bit easier. So this is the board. So we've just got to take this snapped off pin. Okay. So as I said, I know everything's working. I'm not going to go too rough with it. We're just going to get all this nasty fluff off, basically, make it look nice and new again. I got two brushes. One's a standard toothbrush, nothing special, medium toothbrush, and then for more abrasive cleaning I've got a shortened sort of nylon bristle brush as well, just to get into some areas that are pretty mank if needed. Be careful obviously not to bend anything. There's a few exposed bits here. The capacitors as well can sometimes give you a bit of a shock if you don't discharge them. This one has been discharged though, so I shouldn't shock myself. Fingers crossed. Okay, let's start with underneath. So for this I use isopropyl alcohol. Here it is, here's the label. So it's 99.9% lab grade isopropyl alcohol. Really good for cleaning up electrical components. It drives out water and evaporates really quickly as well. So let's get going. You can just liberate this, give it a nice even layer, let it soak in for a few seconds, and what we're going to do is just start in one corner and work our way. Pins, make them nice clean strokes. Now, capacitors, I've never seen leaky capacitors on a Super Nintendo yet. Really common on Sega hardware. Something that I've not come across, but no doubt it does happen. I'm sure Nintendo would have had a bad batch in the 90s, just as Sega had their fair share. These all look to be okay. Surface mount caps can be yeah, I've seen some bad ones on Sega hardware, put it that way. I guess they were different suppliers at the time. Nintendo maybe didn't go with the cheapest, or were just lucky and had a supplier who provided them with some good quality bits. Easy enough to change. Obviously, if you do spot any leaking electrolyte fluid on the board, you would want to get that replaced as soon as you can. And if one's gone, the chances are that the others are going to be on their way, so you may as well do them all. It's not too hard on this, but I did a Sega Saturn recently. It took me about 2 days to get through. Loads and loads and loads of capacitors. Awesome. Alright then guys, so it's been about 48 hours now. Let's have a quick look. As you can see, I moved the lights around as well, since you've probably seen on the last video, just to try and get around. Some people will wrap foil around the box. I've tried both, and to be fair, I'm not even sure if this is going to make much difference. But it is optional as well. It would probably not do it any harm if you did wrap it in foil. But as you can see, let's turn off the UV lights so you can get a real effect. Look at the difference now. So this has been 48 hours. I would say that is pretty good. It's not going to get any better, I don't think, but I'm very happy with that. It's going to look awesome once it's all cleaned up. So I'm going to take it out, put it in this pot because it's still covered in hydrogen peroxide. You don't want it on your hand. Remember how yellow that SNES was, or Famicom? It's certainly got a new lease of life now. Wash it under water, let it dry off, and then the next step is when we put it all together. So, let's move on. Alright then guys, so we're at the final leg. Everything's now been retrobrighted. Can you believe this is the same console? Look at that, looks awesome, doesn't it? Just to prove, here's the original Famicom writing on the bottom. Let's put it all back together. I'm sure this part will be sped up because I don't expect you to watch everything. Okay, yeah, that looks good. So the long piece is there. Sits inside. You just bend it back, the spring in as you insert it. These tend to flick out. Just hold it, keep it in place. Okay, right, that's in. Top piece is now done. Let's put that to one side. Let's go back into our console. Always remember to put these things back. Oh, I know exactly what I've just forgotten now. We have forgotten one of the most important things, the switch. It's not going to work without that. Look at it now. Super Famicom. And if you wanted to, guys, as well, I like the Super Famicom name. I've probably got spare ones kicking around here somewhere. I could have put a PAL UK Super Nintendo cover on there instead, and here as well. But you know what? Japan's cool. I like Japan. I much rather prefer out keeping it a Super Famicom that plays PAL games. Awesome. Right, I'll do a quick video of it working, and then I'll see you on the flip side. Nice one. Cheers. Alright then guys, let's give it a test. So this is the Famicom. It's connected up to my LG OLED TV. Let's turn it on. Ooh, fingers crossed. It's got a PAL game in it. Super Mario All-Stars. Legendary. And there it is. How cool is that? Yeah. There we are. Another lease of life. Awesome.
Well, I hope you enjoyed the video, guys. It was really just for the community. You know, I remember when I first started out, sort of tearing apart consoles, looking at how they work, how to take them apart, and obviously with Retrobright in there, thousands of different methods out there. Hopefully this one proves useful. I hope it's worked out. well for you if you've tried it after this video. I'd love to see your comments. I'd love to take advice. I'm sure many people have got lots of things to say as they do in this community, but again, it's just out there to help. If as a next idea video, I do want to sort of keep doing these and sort of look at restoring videos. I do soldering work as well, so if anyone's got anything that they want repaired, what we could do to keep the channel going, and I think it'll be really good for the entire community, is if you send me your console with a return label, I'll fix it free of charge for the video. We'll restore it and we will put it on the video and hopefully get something going with some guides on how to do it yourself. As I said, my way might not be the best way. There's loads of other ways of doing it, but it is a way that works for me personally. I think lessons learned from this one, I probably retrobrighted it for too long. Unfortunately, I did have to go out on the second day and I didn't get back in time as quickly as I wanted to. And there were some parts of the console that have just brighted a bit too much in some areas. It's hardly noticeable. Certainly tons better than it was, but I think next time I'd keep a closer eye on the clock just to make sure you don't go over that mark, because things can then get worse as well. So yeah, hope you enjoyed it. Let's look at the next console. Send me through what you got and we'll get something for video number 2. Cheers.